Hi, I'm Alexander for AmateurMedia.net, and today we're gonna recreate the imaginary forces titles for Transformers. We are not going to do 100% recreation of the titles, but we're gonna build a similar effect. Now let's see the original animation. Here we are in Imaginary Forces site, this section here, and we hit play. You see there's lots of details here flying around the logo. We are not going to recreate this, but we're going to create a similar transform effect, which is very fast. If you like to change the logo or if you like to change the text, basically we're gonna make the setup and you put in the setup whatever you want. Let's see what we have in the animation. First we have some parts which we're not going to recreate. We'll recreate this part here where the logo is transforming. Now let's check my recreation, which is this. You see quite a different stuff going on here. It is not the same, but it's kind of a good simulation of the real animation. So let's get started. The first thing you need is this font here, which you can find on DaFont. I'll post the link below. Download it, it's free. Then you go to Illustrator, type the text that you want, and then what I've done is select all the type and type create outlines. The next thing I did is go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and offset it negative. Let's check the preview. -1. And now my type is a little bit thin, so when I put the bevels it will be okay. Of course in the cinema you can check constraint to get the same effect, but I prefer to do it here in Illustrator. I already did it, so I'll cancel that. Grab the rule, position it to the center of the logo, and choose File, Save As, and select Illustrator, Illustrator 8, and hit OK. Do the same with the additional text here. When you do that, let's go to Cinema and merge those files. Let's save this file, some new version. Go to Object File, Merge Objects, and select the splines you made in Illustrator. Select the title, use Scale 3, connect splines, and hit OK. Let's select all the splines, right click, and choose Connect plus Delete, and call this title, merge the subtitle, file, merge object, open it, use the same scale, hit OK, open the structure, right click on the null object and choose select children, right click, connect plus delete. Choose a name for this one. Let's select the title, holding Alt or Option on the Mac, and select Extrude NURBS. For the Z, choose 150. For the caps, you use fillet caps for the front and for the back. 1 step is okay, 5 meters is okay. Select the subtitles, holding Alt, select Extrude NURBS, choose something like 100 for the Z depth. Caps, use late caps, fillet caps. This time the radius should be 2. Now if you render, you should have this. I forgot to tell you that in Illustrator I make some modifications of the T, also R, and some other letters like this S here. So having that, let's make some materials for the logo. Go to the material tab, double click, make a new material, double click to open the parameters. Let's call this one front. In the color channel, we're gonna load a texture. I'm gonna use this grunge metal. We don't want to save it in the same directory. And now select the filter, open the filter, and let's colorize it. Something like blue-green, like in the original. Go back to the color, right click, copy the channel of the texture and paste it in the bump. Go to the filter of the bump, make some contrast. That should give us more bump, also for the specular. Let's make it something like this. And for the reflection, we're gonna use something like 8 or maybe 4. Let's go back to the bump. Try to make more bump like this. Let's also boost the reflection. And maybe the specular. Something like this. Something that imitates the metal surface. Select the front and put it on the title. Select the tag. For projection, use cubic. Choose seamless. Control R to render. I think it's. Let's do the same for the subtitle here. Just control drag to copy to the subtitle the material. And now let's make the lights. New light. For shadow map, use soft shadow map and position it up so to highlight the bevels. Going to duplicate this light, control drag to duplicate it and put it from the other side. Now if you render, you see the bevels are highlighted. So we need to highlight the down bevels. So select this light, control drag to duplicate it and put it down. It's too bright, so we need to make some adjustments. Let's move the lights here and check now. That's way much better. maybe too dark, something like this. So now let's make the bevels more brighter. Control duplicate this material, and for the specular I'm gonna boost it, something like this. For the bump we're gonna make more bump, more contrast, more straight, and we're gonna drag it to the title, select the tag, in the selection type capital R1, which is selection for the bevels. Now Control R to render. You see the bevels are brighter. Let's Control drag to the subtitle, Control R. Also select the cubic mapping, and for the other cubic. Of course you can tweak the lights to have better results. Let's leave it like this for now. So we have the reflections over the text material, so let's make something to reflect. Let's insert a sky object, go to window, content browser, and load some HDR. Go to Cinema 4D, let's see here, Cinema 4D, materials, HDR, and let's choose some HDR. Maybe something contrast like this. Drag it to the material tab, then drag it to the sky object. Select the sky object, right click, Cinema 4D tag, compositing, and uncheck scene by camera. So now we won't see it, but the reflections we will see it. So let's make some adjustments, because I think it will be too bright. Select filter, go to the filter, let's make more dark, something like this. Control R to render. You see it's too much, so we need to adjust the reflections of the type. Select the front. For the reflections, maybe 2 should be fine. Control R, that's much better. So now let's make some document settings. For output, choose this preset, and let's say 60 should be fine for preview. Also go to anti-aliasing, choose the best, and now Shift R to render to picture view. You see much better results. I just forgot to check lock ratio, so I choose the same preset, lock ratio, and now I choose 800. Shift R to render to picture view. Again, that's much better. Now let's break the text to pieces. For that we're gonna use a deformer, which is this one, explosion effects. So to work we need to put it in a null object, both the title and the explosion effect. So let's select the explosion effect and extrude NURBS, Alt J to group them. Now you start to see the effect. So what we have the time, which is this green here. If you expand it, you see what happened. For that we we are not going to use a gravity, so go to gravity and type 0. Also, let's go to cluster, and for thickness let's use 4, and cluster type use polygons. Go to explosion and select the straight to be something like 100, so the parts to be more close to the object. Go to rotation, choose some rotation, choose some decay, and use this center of gravity, maybe some variation also here. Now when you scrub the time, you see what happened. Let's see, Control R to render. Now let's make some adjustment. Let's use fracture object, select the extrude NURBS, holding Alt, go to MoGraph, fracture object, and select explode segments and connect. We're gonna use this fracture object to rotate each letter. Now if you render, you see what happened. But first let's make some break these parts, like this O here. So go to extrude NURBS, and for type use triangles. Control R to render again. You see what happened. Now let's call this explosion effect center, and we're gonna duplicate it and put it from this side. We're gonna call this right. Again, duplicate it, control drag, and put it somewhere around here. Call it left. Now let's duplicate the left one again, control drag, and call this big. Let's see, where is it? Let's drag it here. Oops, sorry. Let's turn off this 3. Drag this one here. Go to coordinates. In the Y, let's make it small. In the X, make it bigger. On the Z also. This will be the big one, which will blow all the parts away from the logo. So select the big one, go to spatial, and use minus to be in front of us. Go to the explosion, and let's make the explosion bigger. Also the time, go to object, choose this time. Let's unhide this one. Let's make some adjustments. To have smaller pieces. Let's unhide this one again to work faster. Bring up the decay, also the variation. Let's make the cluster something like 15. It's too much, but maybe 20, and make some variation. Polygons is okay. Go to rotation, let's rotate it a bit. Now if you render, Control R, you see what madness is going on here. So let's animate the position of the big explosion. In the first frame it will be the coordinates, the Z position. Control click to make a keyframe. Maybe in the frame 20. Let's pull it back. Something like this. Control click, make another one keyframe. Now let's turn on these explosions and see what we have. I think maybe we can bring these 3 explosions in the front. Some around here. Control R to render. You see what we have. So let's animate each of the explosion. We're gonna animate the timing. So select the left one. Go to frame 50. Some around here. Go to object. Control click to make a keyframe for the time. Go to frame 70 or 80 and type 1 for time. Let's see what we have. That should be fine. Do the same for the center, or maybe for the right first. Control click to make a keyframe. Go to the end of the composition and let's make time 1. Control click, make a keyframe. Select the center explosion. Go to frame 20. Control click to make a keyframe. Go to frame 90. Type 1. Control keyframe. Let's make the composition, let's say 200 keyframes. Sorry, 200 keyframes. And now let's make some adjustments. Now, if you render, you see some of the problems. Deforming over the interpolation of the splines. So the way to fix that is select the extrude NURBS, the point tag, if angle, choose 0. That should fix it. Shift R to render again. You see. Now let's make a camera. Select camera. Switch this icon here to view through camera. Go to coordinates, 0 of the coordinates, all the rotation, X position, Y position, and use a scroll wheel to zoom out or here. Maybe this will be our final shot. So let's animate the camera using a circle spline. Go to the object, choose XZ. Let's switch off the camera to see where we are. Now hit T for scaling, scale it up. Something like this. And now maybe even more. And now select the camera, right click, Cinema 4D tags, align to spline. Now select the tag and drag the circle to the spline path. Now we have the camera over the spline. So we are going to animate the position of the camera over the spline, and that should rotate the camera over the logo. Let's switch up through the camera. This position should be fine. Control click to make a keyframe. This should be our final shot. So let's make object, null object. This should be our target. Go to camera, right click again, Cinema 4D tags, and use target. So we're gonna use this target because if now we try to rotate over the logo, you see what happened. It's not showing the logo. So the way to do this is to make a null object, which will be the target, and the camera always look through this null object. So select the target tag and drag the target to the target object. Now if you rotate the position of the camera, you see it's rotating over the logo. So now let's animate the rotation. Go to the first frame. Let's go to frame 18 to work faster, and rotate something like this. Should be fine. Control click to make a keyframe, and we're gonna use this animation in the beginning. So select this keyframe, drag it to the beginning of the composition, select the other one, maybe 60 should be fine. Now let's animate the zooming. Select the circle. We're gonna animate the radius of the circle. Select the circle. Let's say this is the final position. Control click. In the beginning should be something like, also we can delete it, something like this. Control click to make a keyframe, drag this keyframe here. Let's select the big one and see what happened. We animate the position, so the first frame. Let's drag this frame here. Maybe we can make the zoom out a little bit faster. Of course, this is all about tweaking, so let's leave it like this. Now let's turn off these deformers to work faster and go to frame 40. Select the fracture object, go to MoGraph, random effector, and for the parameters, uncheck the position and check the rotation. Now we're gonna rotate each letter 180 degrees. And maybe something like 90. Here, go to Effector, control click on the straight to make a keyframe 100%. Go somewhere around here, make it 0%, control click. Maybe we can use 320, make it more crazy, something like this. And when you turn on the deformers, Control R, see what we have. You can of course select these deformers and expand the last keyframe to see more of the deform, and also the left one. Now you see the deforming of the logo, it's been too slow. And I think that's it. The basic idea is this. So the last thing is to hide the subtitle here in the beginning. So we're gonna use a plane effector. Select the subtitle extrude NURBS, holding Alt, select MoGraph, fracture object, and this fracture object. I'm gonna use MoGraph, plane effector, uncheck the position, check the scale, uniform scale, select -1, which makes the letters disappear. Go forward some frames and type 0, control click, they're back. Maybe in the they look like coming from the back, so let's go to the fracture object, explode segments and connect. That way each letter comes in front of us. And this is the setup. So now with this setup you can put a different spline here or a logo, and you have all the setup built up, so you don't need to repeat it. The last thing is to, which I make in the original version, is to blow out these letters at the end. This is doing the same with the big explosion. I make it come to the front of the, let's uncheck the camera, to come on front of the type and blow the type away. If you need more blowing stuff, you can use this deformer, explosion, put it in the same hierarchy, and that should give you more pieces. Of course you can turn the strain of 1. You see what we have. Control R to render. The logo start to breaking apart, which is a cool effect as well. Let's see it from this side. So the last thing is to make a render settings. In the save you can choose a QuickTime movie. You can save After Effects project. I'll save it. Include the 3D data. Choose save. Alpha channels. And for multipass you can right click on the multipass and add some object buffer to insulate the logo, or in my case I export the reflections, the specular, what else, I think the shadows, and that's it. Go to save, choose a path for bold, choose a QuickTime for the mode pass, and render it out. Choose render to picture view and starts to render. Let's open the After Effects project and show what I'm doing there. Basically what I did is make some glow effect over the dark parts in the beginning, which will give me more detail, and also boost up the specular, make some lights, and again in the end I make more glowy stuff. Let's see it here. You see it here, the glow, and of course a time remapping. I use a time remap to skip some parts and make some parts very fast. And that's it. I'm Alexander for AmateurMedia.net. Bye, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial.